Thank you so much for those who are tuned in to the Bible show, Truth Hour, here on the POET Network. Our subject matter today is Biblical Black History. We're on our final part of this lesson for today. We will pick up on a part 2 tomorrow. On next Tuesday's show. But we just had an explosive lesson on how the families were divided in Genesis, the 10th chapter.
Right.
And then we went to the book of Genesis and Exodus, and we learned how these Israelites came into Egypt, which led into a captivity of over 400 years, Brother Julius.
Yes, sir.
And we are comparing that captivity to the captivity that we endured, those who are descendants of those who are from the transatlantic slave trade. And it's no wonder why we've gone through similar things as our fathers went through under the bondage of Egypt. But as we learned in the story of Joseph, why God allowed Joseph to go through what he went through, brothers and sisters, is the same reason why he allowed us to go through what we are going through, brothers and sisters, not only in this country, but in our personal lives. Do you have faith enough to believe that God allowed us to go through what we have gone through and are going through for his glory?
For his glory, sisters and brothers.
Do you believe and have faith enough in God to know that your haters and those people who have come against you are actually doing something that's going to benefit you in the long run?
So my thing, Black Ice, is we're marching, we're protesting, we're upset. We want our 40 acres and a mule. We want our this and we want our reparations. Maybe this is all in the plan of God.
Not maybe, Brother Julius. It is.
It is. I repent me. It is the plan of God, sisters and brothers. And with this knowledge comes power. Where we going to pick this up at, Black Ice? Let's pick this up in Exodus chapter 1.
Exodus chapter 1?
After Exodus chapter 1, we came all the way down to verse 10. Verse 10. Let's pick it up at verse 11. Exodus 1:11. And we're going to learn something on the way to learn this stuff. Come on, Ice.
Exodus 1
and 11.
Exodus 1 and 11, and it reads, "Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses."
So who built all those pyramids, Black Ice?
Israelites, brothers.
Israelites. It was built off the Israel. The nations have always used us to build up their nations. Come on, Black Ice. Verse 12.
Verse 12.
Right.
"But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
That's through the grace and power of God. Go ahead.
And they were grieved because the children of Israel."
Just like the countries is grieved and the nation and the cities of America is grieved because of us. These black people are killing each other. They breaking in and they murdering. And so now we got to unleash the dog.
Or just look at the Republicans and some of the things that we've heard Donald Trump and other people say. They're getting welfare. They need to get off public assistance, or they filling up the healthcare system, and we don't need to do anything for them. We need to do something for the 2% of the riches of the people. It's just this is the same thing that they were talking about in Egypt, Brother Julius.
Same thing. Let us do something about this, and they're going to do something about you. You are not going to continue to do the things and be disruptive, and this country is going to sit down and take it. It ain't going to happen. Line up with the word of God and get you some knowledge and save yourself. Ice, where we at?
Verse 13.
Go ahead.
"And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor."
Right. Chattel slavery. Go ahead.
"And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage,
right,
in mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor."
So it was heavily burdened, sisters and brothers. So this slavery in America is not new. People have always oppressed us. But didn't Pharaoh, Joseph sold into Egypt?
Yes, he was.
But he endured. Same thing you got to endure. And you're going to find out where this thing came from. Come on, Black Ice. Look what, now they got to do something about it. 15, Ice.
"And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah.
Shiphrah.
And the name of the other
Poor.
And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him.
If it be a boy baby, do what, Ice?
Kill him.
Go ahead.
But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Your first mention of birth control.
Yes.
Kill all the boy babies. How do you destroy a nation? You kill the men. That's why I say the man carried the seed. So if they kill all the Hebrew boy babies and let the females live, when the girl grow up and the Egyptian man lay with the Hebrew woman, the baby is Egyptian. That's how you kill off a seed, by killing the men folk. But God's hand was in it. 17, Ice. 17.
But the midwives feared God.
Yes.
And did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive.
And saved the men, children alive. So now they fear God. But go ahead, Ice. Go ahead.
But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive.
Skip down to verse 19. Go ahead.
And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women,
right?
For they are lively,
right,
and are delivered ere the midwives came in unto them.
Go ahead.
Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
So the more they tried to kill them, the more that Israel multiplied. The Lord would not let his people be killed, because he's always been a protector of Israel. Always been there before us. How do you think we made it out of the Atlantic slave trade? How do you think we made it out of what they say, the Emancipation Proclamation? God was with us.
Jim Crow and others, brothers.
They whipped us. They beat us. And now they shooting us. And we so foolish we killed ourselves, but we still here, Ice. Come on.
And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses.
Go ahead.
And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
So now, since y'all won't do it, I'm going to do it for you. Throw all the boy babies into the Nile River, and let them alligators and crocodiles have a ball. A whole lot of Israelite boy babies in the days of Moses was killed. That's why Moses is compared to Jesus, sisters and brothers.
And brothers and sisters, we want you to understand that just like the black male baby was under attack yesterday, under the Egyptian king Pharaoh, the black males are under attack today. There is nothing new under the sun, brothers and sisters.
Kill the black male, you kill the seed. Exodus 2, Ice.
Exodus 2?
Let's look at somebody else who was black, who came through the lineage of Abraham.
Oh, this is so deep, brothers and sisters. We only got 4 minutes left on tonight's show. Only 4 minutes. But, man, we want you guys to, just really just hang in there with us. It's getting deep and it's getting better. Stay tuned. We're going to do part 2 next week. Let's go ahead and pick this up and finish this off.
2 and 1, Black Guys.
Exodus 2 and 1.
Right.
And there went a man of the house of Levi.
One of Jacob's son, Levi. Go ahead.
And took to wife a daughter of Levi.
Right.
And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, Go ahead, Ice. She hid him 3 months. And when she could not no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and dabbed it with slime and with pitch.
Made a small little boat. Go ahead.
And put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink.
But who was looking, Ice? Go ahead.
And his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him.
Go ahead.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside.
Right.
And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it.
And what happened, Ice?
And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept.
Right.
And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
This is one of the who, Ice?
Hebrews' children.
But this is an Egyptian woman, ain't he? But go ahead.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women? that she may nurse the child for you?
And what happened?
And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother.
Wait a minute. So this ain't nothing like the Ten Commandments.
This is something called learning something on the way to learning something, Brother Hebrew.
So what was Moses' sister name? His sister name was Miriam. Mm-hmm. And what was his brother's name? His older brother's name was what, Ice?
Aaron, that's right.
Levites. Israelites of the tribe of Levi. So what happened, Black Ice? Moses' little sister, Miriam, came up to Pharaoh's daughter and said, should I go and get somebody to nurse this? And then what did she do?
She went to get Moses' biological mother to take care of him.
Wow. And what did she say in verse 9? What did Pharaoh's daughter say, which was an Egyptian, say to the Hebrew woman?
And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages.
Oh, man.
And the woman took the child and nursed it.
So she was getting paid to nurse her own child. Mm-hmm. See, it ain't like you see the Ten Commandments where Moses stand before you, Brenner, and he find out when he grown that he's the Hebrew Israelite. He always knew who he was because his mama taught him who he was, Ice. His mother taught him. Continue in verse 10.
Verse 10.
Yes.
And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter.
Right.
And he became her son.
Right.
And she called his name Moses.
What?
And she said, Because I drew him out of water.
So what does the name Moses mean?
Drawn out of
from the water. That's is Moses an Israelite name?
No, it's not.
It's an Egyptian name, Black Ice. Mm-hmm. Just like Joseph's name was changed from Joseph to Zapnap-Paneah. Mm-hmm. An Egyptian name.
Brothers and sisters.
Wow.
This is part 1 of biblical black history. It's so much, brothers and sisters, in this lesson.
Wait a minute, Black Ice. Before we close out, please read verse 11.
Verse 11.
Right.
And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown.
How much time went by?
A lot of time went
by. But Moses grew up in whose house?
In Pharaoh's house.
In Pharaoh's house. Now he a grown man. It ain't like you see on that television show, the Ten Commandments. This is the Bible. Come on, Ice.
That he went out unto his brothers.
Unto his what?
Brothers, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brothers.
Sound like Moses always knew who his brothers was. He knew they was in bondage. He knew they was in captivity. He just had the better life growing up in Pharaoh's house, passing for Pharaoh's grandson.
You got to look like your grandfather in order to pass for your grandfather, brothers and sisters.
Thank you.
He looked like this black Egyptian king because he was a black because he was a black Hebrew man.
Continue at verse 12 quickly, Ice.
And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Brothers and sisters, we're going to close right there.
Wow.
This is, you can visualize the things that we're reading to you today, brothers and sisters. But we took you from the son of Noah, Shem, all the way up into when the Israelites came into Egypt. Now we're at Moses, brothers and sisters. We went through slavery.
And we deal with Israel, Ice. And we're dealing with other nations as they come in contact with Israel, the Ishmaelites, the Egyptians.
But more important, brothers and sisters, we're dealing with black history, black biblical history.
Stay tuned
next week for part 2 of this lesson, brothers and sisters.